I'm Bashir Zawal. I'm the CMO of Tastemakers, creator of Arcade1up.
So can you guys talk about how this journey started and what it's been like seeing your company grow exponentially these last few years?
Well, I mean, it's been an amazing journey so far and an amazing ride. It started as a basically a passion project for our founder and CEO Scott Backrack. He stumbled upon the arcade machine. He was going to a meeting, I think, and he told he was with a partner designer, and he told about, well, would love to get that back kind of experience and have it at home. And so it started as a one product. Let's try to see if there's any interest for it, and turned into a line. And now it's a huge business. And we're very excited because we recently passed the 2 million arcade machines sold in the market. And so very, very excited that in 3 years, basically, more or less, we got to that scale, and we're really tapping into a passion and the nostalgia of those moments when people used to go to the arcade with a friend or a couple of friends, get a couple of coins, and depending on how many coins you get, that's going to define your time at the arcade, and now, for a fraction of the cost, you can have that experience back at home. And so that's really what kind of got people excited and interested. And depending on whether you grow up in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s, as you mentioned, you have your game or your couple of games. And so we're excited to be able to offer that to our fans.
And also, I always like to see companies grow and get larger and get more successful, especially your company, because you guys have learned so much when you first started to release these until now. On your side, probably a little hectic or a little anxious, but on our side, on my side, it's so cool to see that evolve. Be like, oh, you weren't expecting the things to wear so much, so then you added covers. Like, you talk about the evolution of your company, how you learned to improve your cabinets over time and work with the consumer to make an overall better, higher end quality product.
Yeah, I think the key there is listening to the consumer. We're very, very lucky because we have a very strong following and a very engaged following. And so our fans are very vocal in a good way, in the sense that they tell us what they like, they tell us what they don't like, what's not working, what they would like to see. And so we've been constantly iterating, right, on our product. I remember, again, we have a drawing of the very, very first arcade. So, pencil drawing, when the idea that Scott and Jerry came up with the idea, and it started from that drawing. And now we have this year more than 70 different products that are going to be on the market. And so it's a constant iteration, listening to what the fans want in terms of titles, in terms of gaming experience, in terms of overall aesthetic around the machine. And at the end of the day, what's important for us, and it's part of our DNA, is that we want to be authentic and protect that game experience. So the same gameplay, the same game experience that you had back in the day in a 250 pounds arcade machine, is what we provide you, of course, for a fraction of the cost. And so that's really what's important for us. And so we've been constantly listening, using moments like CES and E3 to obviously announce, but also get feedback from the consumers and rebuild it. And so, we started with machines that were analog, and now moving forward, most of our machines are going to be Wi-Fi connected, because we obviously understand the current context and how it influence kind of the people's behavior and the need for people to stay in touch with others, to play remotely with friends. And so we're constantly listening to the consumer.
It's also interesting because, like you said, you were at the beginning of when Scott started the company, but usually when people do startups, it's usually an original idea, something that is your own. But arcade cabinets, most of all your arcade cabinets are licensed. Can you talk about
Yes.
how you deal with the license employee and how you approached them when you were first starting out as opposed to now, and how that's changed?
Well, I think, I mean, at the end of the day, the licensors or the license owners, right? They care about keeping their IP alive, right? And their IP to be alive, it's all about the passion. And we've managed to strike that nerve, and touch the consumer right there in terms of reminding them what it used to be, what they used to like, right? And so when you think about our core target, it's 35 to 55-year-old, right? And so basically grew up in the 80s, 90s. And so the licensor is very excited about keeping that IP and that myth and that experience alive. And we've created the right formula that gets us to obviously protect and be authentic to the IP, but bring it, modernize it, and make it, kind of, up to date for people's experience. So how do you get it at home? So it's three-quarter, scale of arcade, because otherwise it's too big, it's too heavy. You have to build it. It's a kit, right? But it's easier for you to have it and put it wherever you want, and then it's very easy to transport. And then we've worked with our retail partners to get into the right place to communicate. And so that kind of 3-ingredient formula got the licensors very excited. Now, obviously, the licensor, their goal, again, as I said, is to protect their IP. So we work with them, and it's a long process to make sure that we are authentic to what it used to be in the 80s and 90s. So whether it's the gameplay, whether it's the soundtrack, whether it's the deco, the artwork around the machine, even the marketing around the machine, we want to give it a new touch and a more modern touch. But we want you as a fan to recognize right away that machine, right? And so it's a iterative process, but we're both kind of aligned on the idea that we want to bring back that passion for arcade games.
Now, is your company finally at the point where people approach you now and say, "Hey, we'd love to license you this product," or is it still a matter of you guys going to other companies and saying, "Hey, we'd love to make a game"? Has it come full circle? Are people banging down your door now to make arcade machines?
Well, I think it goes both ways. For us, what's important is that, again, we offer the fans what they want. So we're not a one size fits all. You see what I mean? So the point there is that I don't want to offer you something that is exactly the same for everybody, because, as you said, there is one title that I care about, or there's 2 titles that I care about, whether it's Turtles or Street Fighter. And so we want to make sure that we're offering the titles that people care about, whether it's a small niche, 5,000 fans, or obviously a more classic kind of broader audience type of title like Pac-Man, right? So and so it comes both ways. What we've seen that is very interesting is actually more and more a younger generation is interested in arcade games. And so we've done a lot of interesting collaborations with Supreme, with the network, with Champion, with Bait, and the fans and the consumers there are slightly younger. And it goes down to 20 to 15, so 15 to 25 years old, which was a surprise to us, because again, we're playing on that nostalgia wave, right, for the 35 and above. And so we've had a lot of requests from that perspective as well for collaborations around arcade games from the 80s, but for a younger audience, yes. So it's exciting. That means that we're expanding, the audience. So I love it. Yeah.
Now, I know you're not allowed to talk too much about it because, these are meetings that are kept in private, NDAs and stuff, but can you talk about how you were able to get even the Simpsons license into your company? I mean, that alone, not only is it owned by Fox, which is recently acquired by Disney, so that's got to make things, does that make things more difficult, or is it just as hard as anything else?
Honestly, exactly. Yes. It's a muscle. It's a muscle that you build, and it's a process that you build, and we're getting better and better at it because we more and more anticipate the needs and we more and more anticipate what the licensors care about. And 9 times out of 10, it's all about protecting their IP and staying authentic to it, right? So it's not holding it back, it's staying authentic to it. And so every single conversation goes into, the details of the color, the shade. I make a video and they call us and they say, no, well, the blue on the video is not exactly that, right? But I like that because they have so much passion for their IP, right? And so they're correcting us from that perspective. So it's not more complicated than anything else. It's a process, and it's recognizing in advance what they need, what they're going to be asking for. Now, in some cases, there's more, players involved in the conversation, but it's been easier from that perspective. I think where it's getting more complicated is, we're going to run out of titles at some point, and so we want people to to be excited and know about us and know about Arcade1up, because it is that startup, the 3 years old startup that very few people know about, and yet we have 2 million machines in the market. I mean, 2 million machines. So that's pretty much who we are. So we want more people to know about it, because we know that people out there want to play again, and at the end of the day, what the arcade machine at your home is an invitation to play again, because you stopped playing, you grew up, you became an adult, and you had more responsibilities and kids and this and that, and you don't have time anymore to go to the arcade and spend hours, and so being able to have that at home is amazing. And it's also an opportunity to bond with your kids. I mean, there is no chance for me to play Fortnite or Call of Duty with my kids. It's too late. You see, I mean, like I wouldn't be credible. But it's very easy for them to play Galaga with me, or Pac-Man, or even NBA Jam behind. So that's what it is. It is a invitation to play again.
You guys had a ton of announcements at E3 last week with the Simpsons and the Street Fighter Big Blue and Turtle. Like, there's so many announcements, and the thing I'm very curious about is these assets on the cabinets, like for the Simpsons or Turtles in Time. Do you guys have access, when working with licensee, to the original ones? Can you use those? Do you have to recreate them? Like, talk about that process, because I find it fascinating.
Well, I think, each title is unique from that perspective, right? So it's unique because you have to go back in history. And that's the beauty of it, is that you go back in history and understand what was created, what worked, what people fell in love with, and try to reproduce it, right? Staying authentic to what it is with a touch of modern days, basically, right? And so each case is unique, whether it's the artwork around the machine, whether it's the game itself, what was the format that it was developed, who developed it, the soundtrack, everything around it. So it's a case by case, for each machine.
Do you have any funny stories you can talk about trying to track down a certain license to a game? Maybe it was a theme song you couldn't find, or an asset, or something like the Ninja Turtles cabinet. I remember you had to reshoot the people on it because obviously that's copyrighted. Anything you can talk about, fun stories like that?
I mean, nothing. I think that's worth mentioning. I think the beauty of it is that every day, we're constantly on one side listening to our fans and what they're asking us about and what they want to see and what title and when it's coming. And we post about a title and they respond, and how about this one? And I love that, because they're keeping us in check in terms of, are you coming? There's this missing, this title is missing in your lineup, etc. And then on the other hand, what's great about it is that as I said, we wake up every day playing, working on games that people are going to play. So nothing is too complicated for us to go get. When you build a NBA Jam machine, how many players are on that game? All the conversation that you have to have, but it's worth it. It's worth it. It takes months and months, but it's worth it, because that's the moment people heard about NBA Jam, people went bonkers. So I love it. It's worth it.
Yeah, like, speaking of that, I mean, you guys have a lot of data and stuff that's not available to the public. Is it difficult because you talked about talking with the consumer? Is it difficult ranging what the people really want based on the data you see in your company, and how do you differentiate from just the noise?
I don't consider it noise because what they say is that when someone says something, there's 100 people that think the same behind. You see what I mean? They might not speak up, but they think the same. So I think it's important to listen to everybody. And then we have different mechanism because when you pick up the phone or you write an email specifically to request a title, you are motivated, right? And that's a motivated consumer fan. And so we have thousands of those. And people call our customer service saying, when are you guys releasing, this title? And so when it gets to that point, like, okay, there is something there. Let's investigate. Let's understand how many people. And then we poll a little bit of the audience. We've created also, private beta testers with our consumers, so that we get the feedback real time. They test the product with us. They understand how we're building it. They give us, feedback on every step of the development. So we're constantly listening to our fans.
So it's like, I can't not ask about. Can you talk a little about the arcade machines that you announced here at E3? Starting with the Simpsons cab and
Yes,
the features on it and the other games that are going to be on it and that kind of stuff. And we'll go down the list and also hit Big Blue and Turtles in Time and all that good stuff.
Yeah, this year is exciting. I mean, this E3 is exciting. We have 5 big titles that are coming out. I mean, 5 big machines. So obviously the Simpsons. The Simpsons is unique. It's been expected for a long time. People are asking for it. So that machine, it's 4 players, it's Wi-Fi connected. It's a beautiful, I mean, it's a piece of furniture. It's a piece of the decor. It's a beautiful machine. And so the Simpsons comes with a bonus game that's going to be a part of it. And then next to it, coincidence, but we have another blue machine, right? It's the Big Blue. It's the Street Fighter Championship Edition Big Blue. That machine in itself is beautiful. It's taller than kind of the average machines that we have, and I think it's going to be a big hit. Obviously, Street Fighter is a big hit. The third title that we have is Turtles in Time. That same thing. I mean, since we had TMNT, everybody has been asking for it. Same thing. I mean, I can look at my list of games, but I assume you have the list of the games that go with it. But it's just, it's tapping into that passion, and Turtles has been a amazing kind of IP from that perspective. So Turtles is the third one. The fourth one that we have is a great one because it's an anniversary, and it happened to be 2 big classics that were born in 1981, right? So for once, those are games that are younger than me, and so they were born in 1981, and it's Miss Pac-Man and Galaga. And so it's a beautiful machine because basically one side of it is Miss Pac-Man, and the other side of it, from an artwork perspective, is Galaga. And so that one comes with I don't know, 12 games. 12 games in one machine. And if you want me to go through the list, I don't mind. I mean, obviously it's like Dig Dug, Mappy Rally X, Rolling Thunders, Rompers, Tower of Draga, King and Balloon. So a lot of games, a lot of amazing games that are part of it. But that is a classic, and that is a unique one because it's the 40th anniversary. So you can expect that there's not going to be a lot of those because past 2021 it doesn't make sense anymore, right? So that's the fourth one. And then last but not least, and I know we announced it before at CES, is X-Men 4 players. And I think that's going to be a killer. So X-Men 4 players, Wi-Fi connected. And we're also introducing a chat feature. So now you'll be able to talk with your players, with your friends, and especially if you're playing remotely, and trash talk if you want to trash talk, but definitely it's going to enhance the experience. And so that's why, as I was saying earlier, we want to stay true and authentic to the game experience, but with a touch of modern days, right? And so the connection, the chat features, all that is helping enhance that experience. And as you enjoy more and more, and frankly speaking, because of the COVID, the situation, the past situation, you're enjoying more and more time at home. You'll still be able to stay connected with your friends and play with friends and family. So a lot of exciting things are coming. So 5 big titles.
And the thing I'm just curious about is, with the stay-at-home orders and the pandemic, did that affect your manufacturing line last year, or was everything on schedule still for that? Like, how did that affect your product specifically, if it did?
Yeah, I mean, it affects everybody in this industry, right? I mean, we all read about the shortage of chips and screens and things like that, and so we have to deal with it and manage it just like all the, let's call it consumer consumer electronics industry. But at the end of the day, what matters is that we get the product ready. You see what I mean? So it might delay by a week or 2 or even a month, but it's still worth it. So we've been through all those hurdles, and yeah, we're going very well.
And then I have 2 more. My last 2 questions, and I know you can't answer them, but they're just fun questions that I like asking people who work at Arcade1up. Did you guys ever talk about or concept a 6-player version of the X-Men arcade cabinet? Because the one in the arcade had the big double wide one, and it was gigantic.
Which one? The gigantic one? Which
X-Men, the X-Men arcade they had 2 variants, right? Or 3 variants, and one of them was a big double wide 6-player one. I remember how huge that thing was in the arcades.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, what's exciting about what we do is that we keep innovating, and we will keep innovating and listening to consumers and innovate with it. So who knows? I don't know, but all I can tell you, if it's been there and there are fans of it and a lot of fans of it and they're asking for it, we're most likely gonna make it.
And you kind of answered my follow-up question to that anyway, but for all those NFL Blitz players, what can you tell them? Can you give them anything that are banging? I know they've been banging down your door for years.
Well, I mean, you know, sports is important for us, and why it's important for us is because it's arguably number 1 or number 2 passion, consumer passion. And so we will definitely look into all the consumer passions. And if there's a arcade game related to it, we will definitely look into it. Yes.
It's awesome. And the Simpsons cabinet, people can start pre-ordering that July 15th. The
July 15th. Yes.
The Street Fighter Big Blue arcade machine can start pre-orders on July 1st. Turtles in Time is also on July 1st. The Miss Pac-Man Galaga Class 51 arcade machine is August, and then the X-Men 4-player cab can begin pre-orders in July 15th.
Yes, and we can't wait to start that process. And obviously, you have to come on Arcade1up to get more information and to let us know if you want to be notified before it goes live.
That's awesome. And do you have any hard release dates for any of these cabinets so far? Or are you guys still to be determined on that?
I mean, it's to be determined, but expected for fall. Yes.
Awesome. I must stop recording.
On time for the holidays.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.